Hey people, Gotti Edelman here with another out-of-the-box review, and today we are going to be taking a look at a digital trigger pull gauge from ReadyUpGear.com. So, before we get into this, why would somebody even want to bother getting a trigger pull gauge? There's a bunch of different reasons. If you are a competitive shooter, then obviously it is something that you're going to want to have so that you can set all of your triggers on various guns to your liking, or even if you're only using one gun, you can set it to your liking. Now understand, just about any gun, not every gun, but just about every gun out there can be worked on, and if you don't know what you're doing, definitely take it to your local trusted gunsmith. But most guns out there today can have the trigger pull redone to make it more crisp, have less crepitance, just be smoother, and overall a lighter trigger pull. If you're an everyday carry person like myself, but you have different weapons, you're going to want all those weapons to be in and about the same, if not exactly the same, so that no matter what you're carrying, you're going to have the same trigger pull on each of your weapons. If you don't carry every day, if you're not concerned about it, a lot of people buy these just because they're fun and they want to know what the trigger pull on their various weapons are. So, having said that, you've got two different types of trigger pulls. You've got the analog, which for those of you that are a little younger, analog is like a clock with the hands on it, and you've got digital. So obviously the analog trigger pull gauges are a little bit less expensive, and when you get into the digital, they tend to be a lot more expensive, but they are much more accurate. So what we are going to look at today, as I said, is from ReadyUpGear.com, and this is a digital trigger pull for only $29.99. So we're going to flip the camera around, pull out a bunch of different guns, show you how this works, the different features that it has, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is the digital trigger pull gauge from ReadyUpGear.com. As I said, you can get this at ReadyUpGear.com for only $29.99. When you turn it on, it's going to go to all zeros. Now it's got several different settings here. First and foremost is your unit setting. So right now it's in pounds and ounces. You can set it for kilograms, and last but not least, you got several different modes. So we can set it on a mode where it's going to keep track of each trigger pull and save that in the memory, or we can do what is a live, where it'll just show you as you're going up and down with the trigger when it actually fires that trigger. And lastly, you've got just your regular showing you the peak. So you've got peak and live. It will go from as little as 1 ounce all the way up to 12 pounds. So between the peak and live modes and the fact that it goes from 1 ounce or 0 ounces all the way up to 12 pounds is really not bad little unit for only $29.99. Now there's a couple things. It does come with the instruction manual, and it's a real basic instruction manual, but you can also go to ReadyUpGear.com and see, this is going to be kind of bright light on the camera there, but this is the trigger pull gauge instruction manual. It shows you how to use it, if you're keeping track of each trigger pull, how to delete it, and as you notice, it just has an auto shut off, so it just went off by itself because I wasn't doing anything. The first thing I want to do, I'm going to flip this around, and I want to see out of the box how good this gauge is. So what I've got here, this is from a dumbbell set. This is 1.25 pounds. So the easy way for me to measure this would just be to put it on where the trigger would go, and let's see. Should be about 1.25 pounds, and it's coming up 1.3 pounds, 1 pound 3 ounces. So it is extremely close for a $29 digital gauge. So with that, we can now move on and check different guns. Over here's the delete button. I can just delete that and bring it all back to zeros. Let me grab some guns and we'll be right back. Most of your gauges that I have seen, and if you look online you'll find that they have a hanger, almost a wire piece that attaches to where the trigger goes on the unit, and I shouldn't call it a trigger, the measuring gauge, and you would put that hook with the metal inside the trigger and just pull until it fires. With this particular model, the way it works is this goes inside, if you can see that, it goes inside the trigger housing. Now on the instruction manual it actually says to use your finger on the opposite end and push like you're pulling the trigger. The problem is this is a little bit wide. So if you've got a gun with a short trigger guard, you're not going to be able to get this in there and your finger in there as well. So I think that what we can do is just pull it and let the trigger fire. So first we want to show that the gun is empty. So I am using, let me rack this here for you so you can actually see it. I am using a Bull Armory 1911. Now anybody who's familiar with 1911 knows they've got very light triggers. This one is out of the box. It has not been worked. I love 1911s for that reason as opposed to a striker fire, only because with the hammer fire it is a much smoother and easier pull. So let's turn this on and we're going to make sure it sets at 0. And by the way guys, as we're waiting for this, it does require 2 AAA batteries. It does not come with the batteries. I had to run out and grab batteries because I didn't have any in the house. So make sure you have a couple AAA batteries in order for this to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in the trigger housing and hold it with my left hand so I can pull with my right and pull. So that's telling me that the trigger pull on my Bull Armory is 1 pound 13.4 ounces. 1 pound 13.4 ounces. Now let's check a gun that's a striker fire. That's going to be a little bit different. So we'll grab a Glock. Now this Glock that I have, let me get this out of the case. This Glock that I have has been worked. I put a master trigger set in there, so it should be a little bit lighter than your standard Glocks. Glocks, when they come out of the factory, they should be about 4.5 pounds. Again, we're going to show this is clear. You can see the follower on the magazine. There you go, magazine's out. So this Glock should be a little bit better. I actually have not even fired this gun since I bought it, and I had the trigger worked, so I am honestly curious as to how this is going to work. So again, this shut off automatically. We're going to go ahead, turn it back on. We're set at 0. And we are going to stick it in the trigger. Let me rack this so we can actually pull that trigger. And 1 pound 6.7 ounces. 1 pound 6.7 ounces. They definitely did a good job in working on my trigger with this gun. It is extremely light and smooth for a Glock. So again, if you do own a Glock, you can get the master trigger sets at your local gun shop or online. Now, if you're dealing with rifles, that's going to be a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to grab a rifle. Okay, so here I've got my AR-15, and again, we will try and show on the camera, not easy with the space I'm working with here, show you that she is empty. Okay, let's see. Now this one I might be able to actually get my finger in there, but the way I'm working in front of the camera, I'm kind of backwards. So let's just see what this one comes up as. At 0, you can see the difference between a rifle and a pistol. 3 pounds, almost 3 pounds even, 3.02. Now I do want to show you, as I was talking about the different modes that this has, if you put it on the mode with the center numbers there, it's going to keep track as I run through hit enter, it sets it back to 0. I can do another gun, hit enter, and it's going to keep track of each one as I go. So this is a really, really cool little unit. And you are getting something that will allow you to be within a few tenths of an ounce of the more accurate ones. As I showed you in the beginning with my weight, it came up, what, 1.3, and it's actually 1.25. Not bad for $29.99. Okay, so once again, trigger pull gauge, the digital trigger pull gauge from ReadyUpGear.com. As I said before, if you do want to change the trigger or trigger pull on your weapon and you don't know what you're doing, please find a good gunsmith in your area. Don't go messing around with it yourself unless you really know what you're doing. Many guns today, especially the competition guns, are actually sold with adjustable triggers. Those of you that have that, you know who you are, and you probably already own one of these. If you don't, again, $29.99. Lastly, I do want to say, I don't get paid for these reviews. Never have. My YouTube page is not monetized. I do this because I enjoy just sharing these different items that I'm asked to review with you. And by not getting paid, I'm going to be as honest as I can possibly be. This one, definitely 2 thumbs up. For 30 bucks, you can't go wrong. You can go out and spend hundreds of dollars on a proper, digital, expensive gauge, but as we showed you in the beginning of this one, it is not bad for $30. If you need something more accurate, again, go to your local gunsmith. But I think for 30 bucks, you're going to be more than happy with this thing. So, lastly, since I'm not getting paid for any of this stuff, do me a favor, and down here on the bottom somewhere, click like and share. That's all I ask. The more people that see me, the more people will join, and the more reviews I'll be able to do. So, until next time, as usual, I've got your 6, and we'll see you at the range.